video is Unit 1, learning targets 18 through 21. Don't have that written there. 18 through 21. Foundations in biology. And what I mean by that, just the basic things that we assume that when we're studying biology. And one of those things is the characteristics of all living things. Here I have a picture of a virus. A virus is not a living thing. A virus is made of protein and DNA. It reproduces, but all living things are made of cells. All living things grow and develop, things that viruses don't do. So we're going to talk about the 8 characteristics of all living things. First characteristic is all living things are composed of cells. All living things are composed of cells. Cell is a basic unit of life. It is the smallest living part of you, a cell is. It's a picture of a plant cell. See the cell wall. We'll get into plant cells later. There's a picture of a bacteria. All living things are made of cells. Second, all living things reproduce. 2 types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. Sexual reproduction involves 2 parents with genetically different offspring. Parent 1, parent 2, completely different offspring because it's a mix between 1 and 2. Asexual reproduction, 1 makes a clone of itself in a genetically identical organism. Sexual reproduction, sperm and egg. We'll be talking a lot about these things over the course of the year. Asexual reproduction, there you have the little, this is called budding, and this little guy's name is Bud apparently, and that bud is just an clone of the parent at that point. All living things have a genetic code. Number 3, all living things have a genetic code. That genetic code is DNA. Now, one of the things I want to drill into your head by the end of the year is that DNA is a code, and DNA codes for proteins. DNA codes for proteins. All right, if you don't learn anything else this year, DNA codes for proteins. Here's that genetic code in a little more chemical look. We'll learn the parts of this in another unit, not today. All organisms, number 4, grow and develop. All organisms grow and develop. What is growth? They get bigger. Notice how that plant gets bigger. They also develop. What is development? Notice how the plant changes over time. It doesn't just stay this way. It gets different kinds of leaves and gets some fruit on it, and some different things are going on that plant that weren't going on day 10. Just like you grow and develop. Your little puppy at home grows and develops because it's a living thing. There's a picture of a baby. It grows from one cell to like a fish into a human. They develop over time. They don't stay fish. They turn into humans. All right. All living things obtain and use energy. All living things obtain and use energy. This process of obtaining and using energy and all the processes in your body, both using the energy and making the energy, is called metabolism. The sum of all reactions in your body is called metabolism. So if you have a fast metabolism, then your body works really fast. If you have a slow metabolism, your body works really slowly. You can speed up your body's metabolism by making it work more. If you want to speed up your metabolism, go do something, and your body will say, well, we should speed up in order to meet the new needs, and it will do just that. Or if you want a slow metabolism, then just sit and watch Netflix. All right, here's a picture of cellular respiration and photosynthesis. They will be your 2 favorite words by the end of the year, or 2 favorite phrases. by the end of the year. But this is how organisms obtain and use energy. These two processes: photosynthesis makes glucose, cellular respiration uses glucose, and we're going to go through those two processes um, in fun detail this year. All organisms, all living things respond to stimulus. What is a stimulus? Something acting on the organ or in the organism from the environment. You walk outside and you're like, oh, it's hot out here. How'd you know? Because your skin tells you that. And then your skin tells your brain, hey, it's hot. And your brain says, well, we should cool off. And you start to sweat. That is a response to stimulus. A rock can't do that. A dead animal can't do that, for that matter. It has to be alive. Living things respond to stimulus. This is a Venus flytrap, everyone's favorite plant. Um, that little worm is about to find out how that plant responds to stimuli. It's going to eat that worm, all right? And no, it won't hurt you if you put your finger in there. All right. All organisms, or all living things, maintain a stable living environment. Homeostasis is the term that we use to say that when an organism is at its normal levels, it is at homeostasis. It's maintaining homeostasis is what your body is all about. I use the example of walking out into the heat, and your body says, well, it's time to cool down and it'll sweat. Why does it do that? Because your body needs to be 98.6 or thereabouts. Because if it's not, it starts to break down. It doesn't like to be hotter. It doesn't like to be colder. It likes to be that. That is homeostasis. Your blood likes to have a certain amount of CO2 in it and a certain amount of oxygen in it. It doesn't like less or more. It maintains that by you breathing in and out at a certain rate. It maintains that with certain chemicals. Keep your blood at a certain pH. That's important. And lastly, all organisms as a whole, all living things as a whole, change over time. And we use the word evolution to describe that. Evolution is the change of a population over time. Change of a population over time. And so this shows whale, or what scientists believe to be whale evolution. And it's thought that whales were once land animals. Well, how did they get that? What do you mean? Well, a whale, like this whale that you see down here, has a little bone in its body that is the remnants of a leg bone and hips. Notice, where'd they go? Well, the whale doesn't need them anymore. It wasn't that the whale decided it didn't need them anymore, but the whales without hind legs tended to survive more than the whales with hind legs, and so the whales without hind legs are the ones that we see today. That is evolution in a nutshell. We'll have an entire unit over that later this year. Here's a great picture for explaining this change over time as well. The Grand Canyon did not cut itself in a day. And so the Colorado River over many years has cut the Grand Canyon. Well, at one time there was one population of squirrels that crossed the tiny Colorado River just gleefully, and they all intermated and they were all good friends. Well, now the Colorado River is several miles deep and the Grand Canyon is several miles wide, and these squirrels are no longer traversing the canyon in order to meet up. And so now there are two different species of squirrels, one on one side, one on the other, because of this change over time. Now, here are all those living things. Don't begin writing feverishly, but this is just a list of all the things that we just talked about. Notice there are several associated terms here, like asexual, sexual, DNA, stimuli, homeostasis, so forth. So make sure that you understand those associated terms as well. Now we're going to talk about how life is organized quickly. Life is organized, and scientists study life at different levels of organization. The highest level of organization is called the biosphere. The biosphere is the globe. It's the largest and most complex level of study. Whole Earth. We talk about the biosphere. We talk about things that affect the biosphere, like climate change. We talk about weather patterns, pollution, lots of different things that affect the entire biosphere. A biome is a large area with similar climate and similar communities. Like a rainforest is an example of a biome. There are rainforests all over the world. They're hot, they have lots of trees, lots of life, and so lots of different kinds of life. And so we call those places rainforests. This is a taiga. Taigas are mountains and trees and cold up in the north, and there's taigas look the same all over. The biome. That's different than an ecosystem. An ecosystem is all the living and non-living factors in an area. Take, for instance, a pond that's in your backyard or in someone's backyard. That pond is an ecosystem. An ecosystem is not only the fish and beavers and salamanders and the little boy fishing on the dock over there. It is the dead trees and the water temperature and the currents in the water and the air and the dead things that are decaying on the bottom and the pollution down here at the bottom. All these things are part of the ecosystem. It's the living and the non-living, or the biotic, which is living, and abiotic factors in an area. Here's a aquatic ecosystem, the beach. All right, a community. Communities are all the living factors in an area, or you could say it's a group of populations. This is not only the owls and the ferrets and the thing, but it's also grass and ferns and trees and mushrooms and flies, I guess, bacteria. All these things are part of the community. Here's a marine community. This is whales and polar bears and seals and Arctic fox and longworms and all the things that live in an Arctic community. Well, a population is just one group of those organisms. Population of golden toads, for instance, population of polar bears, a population of owls, or whatever it is. Right? It's just a group of organisms of the same species that live in the same area. Like Murray, Kentucky is a population. We all live in the same area. We're all humans. There's a population of narwhals. Sword fighting. Yes, narwhals are real animals. And then lastly, there's just the individual organism. It's a single living individual. There's a wolf. Looks upset. And that organism is made up of several things as we get deeper and deeper. Organ systems is groups of organs that perform specific functions for the whole body. Organs, this is a group of similar tissues, or a group of tissues that perform closely related functions. There's a lung there. The tissues in the lung all work together to make you breathe. What are tissues? Tissues are groups of similar cells that perform a specific function, like muscle tissue or nerve tissue, connective tissue. And then cells. Cells is just a basic unit of life we've talked about. Cells are made up of lots of molecules. What is a molecule? It's a single unit of a compound. It's your book definition. It's a group of atoms. There's lots of atoms there. This is a phospholipid here. It's part of your cell membrane. And of course the atom is a basic unit of matter. And this particular atom is a carbon atom. The most important atom in all living things is the carbon atom.